If you're a garage woodworker like myself, the thought has probably crossed your mind. How much work does it take to turn slab lumber into finished furniture? It's a lot of work. It's also really heavy. God! In this video, I'll show you how I took 9-foot slabs of white oak and turned it into a mid-century modern inspired council table for my living room. I'll show you how I pieced out the slabs, surfaced the lumber, and then I'll show you how I built the table. So can you do it? Absolutely. But it takes a lot of work, a lot of learning, but when you're done, you know that every board on that piece of furniture you cut by hand. And you can't buy that satisfaction in any store. Let's get into it. So where do you start with a slab this big? I don't know. This piece weighs about 150 pounds. The bigger one, probably 200 pounds. So there's no way that this is fitting on my tiny table saw. So I need to start piecing this out the only way I can, with the circular saw. Now before I can do any cutting, there's one very important thing. It is -5 in the garage today, and tomorrow it's gonna be -20, so I have to go turn on the heater, or I'm gonna die. Wow, that was a process. I'm not a big corded tool user, but man, for something like this, battery powered's not gonna do it. You need that extra oof. She big. All right, well, after a couple hours of cutting, this is where we're at, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now, yes, it looks pretty rough because it is. This is a lot easier for me to put through a table saw than a 200-pound slab. So at the end of the day, that's a win. All right, well, the next step on this project is to get a flat face somewhere on this board. You've got a couple options. You could use a hand plane, you could use a power jointer, or you could use a power planer. I have 0 hand plane skills. I don't own a jointer, but it just so happened to be I bought a new tool for this project, and I am very excited to use it. This is the reason why you watch Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for good deals. I came across a nice older gentleman who was getting rid of the tools from his workshop, and he sold me this 13-inch helical head planer for about 1/3 of the price of what it actually was. And the best part, it was brand new. He had never used it. It was too big for his shop. And now I get to use it, and I am super stoked. Now the downside of a planer is that it doesn't actually make a flat face. It makes a parallel face. So if you got a twist in your board or something uneven, it's just gonna translate that onto the top edge. So it won't make a flat face. So instead, I have to build a planer sled, which lets my warped piece of wood sit on something flat as it runs through.
Anywhere the board doesn't sit flat, I'm going to shim it up so it runs through the planer nice and level. Everything gets secured with hot glue. For a woodworking project, I used a lot of hot glue. After a few test passes and popping the breaker a couple times, I gave it a full send. Now, with one side perfectly flat, I can flip it over and no need for the sled anymore. Just watch out for giant splinters.
Ah! Ah!
Yeah, that one hurt.
Now I'll admit, we are pretty flat, but we're not dead flat. Now, I work on a portable setup, and these are pretty big pieces of wood, so there's a little bit of snipe, there's a little bit of unevenness, but also, I have to be honest with myself. I'm learning this. I'm figuring it out as I go. And if this is as good as I can do today, maybe tomorrow we'll do it better. But for today, let's get some straight edges on these boards. Now, if you don't have a straight edge on any of your boards, the first thing you need to do is find something that is straight and then that acts as your reference to then cut straight. So an example of that would be like a track saw. I don't have a track saw, but I have a table saw, and there are lots of jigs for a table saw to put a straight edge on your board. Now the downside to a jointing jig is that your jig has to be the size of your piece of wood. You can see the problem. This little piece is called a L fence. L fence, there we go. While this looks like a really simple piece of plywood, which it is, it actually does a pretty interesting thing. You'll be surprised how simple it is and how effective it is.
The L fence is a type of zero clearance fence for your table saw. They're really handy for templating work, but they also work great for putting a straight edge on long boards. By gluing a straight reference board to the top of my slab, the straight edge of the fence runs against the reference board and translates a straight edge down to the slab. For boards this heavy and this dense, this is a job for a table saw. Now that I have a true straight edge on each one of my boards, I don't need the L fence anymore. My regular fence will work. With my lumber surfaced on all four sides, I can begin cutting things down to actual size. But that means I have to be careful of everything I do now. I don't have any lumber to spare. To try to cut down on the burn marks, I cut through the white oak in small, shallow passes. The table saw put a lot of burn marks in, so I'll have to sand that out later. This table is designed to have 10-degree sawhorse style legs. So sometimes that means a 10-degree crosscut, but other times that means a 10-degree rip. For the bottom slats, I need to resaw some of my lumber to 3/4. Now resawing on a table saw can be dangerous. If you see smoke, something bad's about to happen. As you cut, internal stresses sometimes close the kerf on you, and that's dangerous. So sometimes you just do the job with a handsaw. After a quick pass through the surface planer, we've got nice 3/4 inch boards. The last table saw cut I need to do is to cut a rabbet in the bottom stretcher. It's cut at 3/4 depth, the same height as the slats, so they sit in there nice and snug. With everything cut to size, it's time for assembly. Most of this table is assembled of dowels, but what makes it tricky is the 10-degree angle. By using my 10-degree offcuts, I can use those as a doweling jig. This keeps my dowels at a 90-degree angle, so they're nice and strong. Glue up for this table had to be done in 2 stages, because it's 70 inches wide and I only have 2 clamps that can go that large. Everything is getting glued together with Titebond 2 because I need the longer open time. Without all the clamps that I need, there's a lot of finagling. To close up the table, everything got secured together with big pipe clamps. While the table base is drying, it's time to focus my attention back on the tabletop. The tabletop has a 4-inch knife profile, which the only way to cut it is by hand. Now this is a long and tricky cut to make, so I'm giving myself a little bit of safety by cutting 1/8 inch outside the cut line. Then I'll sand back to the cut line. Speaking of sanding, now I get to sand all the snipe and burn marks out of the tabletop. So this is going to take a while. To route the edge profiles, handheld routers aren't going to cut it. We're taking out the big guns. With everything routed, we can focus back on the table base. It's time to install the bottom slats. Next, it's time to put adjustable glides on the bottom of the legs. These glides get a threaded insert and then a jam nut lock them in place. These glides can also swivel to account for the 10-degree angle of the legs. The last step is to add these figure 8 connectors to connect the table base to the tabletop. This lets the table base and the tabletop move separately in case there's seasonal wood movement. After getting it perfectly aligned, we can attach the table base to the tabletop.
Well, we've got something here that 4 out of 5 dentists would agree looks like a table. So everything is sanded to 120, which is the recommended grit for my finish of choice. Well, it's not really my finish of choice, I've never used it before. So for this table, I'm gonna use Rubio Monocoat. Rubio Monocoat is a hard wax finish to my understanding. The selling point on it is that it's one coat, the Monocoat. You apply it, you wipe it, you're done. The color that I'm using is dark roast. It also comes with an accelerator. If you don't use the accelerator, the cure time is weeks, whereas the accelerator takes it down to 7 days. And then you just put it on with a little scrubby pad, a little soft white scrubby pad, and hope for the best, right? Before we look at the final product, do me a favor, head down to the comments below, tell me what you think. If you like what we're doing around here, consider subscribing. We'd love to have you here. All right, let's go take a look.
Well, hey, that's it. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you on the next one.